Hello everyone and welcome to Baka Reviews. In today's episode, we got a very mental, very vibe-like movie.
A very spicy movie, perhaps.
One might say spicy.
Very spicy.
Not spicy, but yeah, spice.
Spiced.
Very flavorful.
Flavorful.
That's a good word for it.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm joined by my co-host, Wheeze.
I'm Wheeze.
And Ramen Cat is out today. He, I don't know, I think he's running from the cops or something like that.
Something like that. He invaded somebody's dream and got arrested for it.
You know, normal MO stuff for Ramen Cat.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so yeah, we are talking about Paprika. The spice, of course, not the movie.
So initially, I was like, this movie's called Paprika. So I assumed, like you would, that this was like a show about a group of people wanting to start a food channel for like a network, and they call it Paprika because they never use the spice paprika, and so it's a joke within their like food show, and they continually do more absurd things to get famous on the network. That was my initial idea, which I think is actually a great idea for a story.
It sounds like a great idea, but I think you're probably surely disappointed when you watched the movie.
It was a little bit different than I was expecting.
Yeah.
It was basically the same thing, though.
Yeah, there was some. There was no cooking in this whatsoever.
They ate things.
Yeah, there was lots of things eaten, that's for sure. Anyways, why don't we dive right into the review? I don't want to do this back to back, but last episode for Akira, we didn't have a synopsis because we were like, this movie is too far out to have a synopsis. Well, guess what, guys? This movie, we're not even going to attempt to tell you what's going on.
I've got a very basic is just, if you haven't seen it, go watch it because it is worth watching. It's very interesting. But the basic synopsis, it's kind of Steins Gate-ish. It gave me it's like, after watching it, thinking about it, it's like, this is heavy Steins Gate vibes.
Steins Gate, Evangelion.
They create a device that lets you like have dream therapy where people can like enter your dreams.
Yeah.
So they have it for like therapists is the idea, to help people with therapy by going into their dreams, into their subconscious. They can deal with like childhood problems and stuff because it's in your subconscious. It's not like you have to bring it to mind.
Right.
So anyways, these scientists make the device and then someone steals it and starts sabotaging it because now they're invading people's dreams and screwing with them. And so the idea behind the technology is it's super helpful if it's used correctly, but it's also extremely dangerous because you can just like merge dreams and just, they don't totally know everything about it. So, so the scientists are like going into dreams constantly, and it gets to the point where they are not like totally sure what's a dream and what's real anymore.
Reality in the dream, I think, in a weird way, mentally, but also, I think, physically, start binding together.
Yeah.
Because as far as we can tell, not trying to spoil things too much, so at this point, if you're looking for a non-spoiler review of the show, too bad, we're going to spoil it. Pause, go watch the show, whatever, the movie. Anyways, so spoil it. At the end of it, as far as we can tell, the city is actually physically destroyed in some ways. So I think it's actually like they're literally merging together.
Yeah, there was a thing about dreams happening while they were still awake and stuff. It was very weird and surreal. But the most of the movie isn't like, it's clear that the dreams and the real world are separate, but they slowly like merge together by the end, I guess. Anyways, we're not talking about what actually happens in the movie because we don't really know what happened in the movie. We just know what we enjoyed and found interesting.
Man, this is one of those movies, like I was just saying before the podcast, I thought I knew what the heck was going on. I thought I had it down. I went to bed thinking, yeah, I got this. I know exactly what happened. I know all the details. And I woke up and I was thinking about it while I was working. I'm just like, what the frick actually happened? Like,
it does feel like that watching it. Like it doesn't feel like you have no idea what's going on. As long as you pay attention. Yeah, as long as you pay attention to it, it's not too complicated.
Yeah.
But by the end of the movie, you're just kind of like, I'm not totally sure what happened, but it was very cool.
It's kind of like watching a demolition of a building. Like at first, like you see a couple of you see them break a couple things, maybe a couple explosions. You're like, you get it.
Yeah.
Like, they're doing this, that way it falls this way. And then everything just explodes. You're like, I don't get it anymore.
It's like everything explodes and the building's just gone and there's no rubble. And
Exactly.
You're like,
There's no rubble.
What just happened?
There's like a park put there now. And you're just like, what? But yeah,
like that.
It's just like that. Anyways,
so first overall thoughts. Generally, I really enjoyed this movie.
I did as well.
It was really, really fun. It was more fun than I was expecting it to be. Because generally you hear like psychological thriller and you're like, this is going to be a heavy, like depressing movie.
Almost like headache inducing.
Yeah.
I was actually expecting to be like, have a headache after.
Yeah. And this movie was actually pretty light and really fun for the most part.
It felt happier than I was expecting. I was expecting like a dark, kind of like a psychopath type of show.
Mm-hmm.
Where like we're gonna like have moral dilemmas and stuff like that, but in all actuality it felt pretty clear cut. Like we knew what was going on, like on the top layer.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is very much like an onion. Like if you just pay attention to the top layer, you don't know what's going on at all, but you get it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's wild.
It is.
I interrupted you. You were continuing.
I'll keep going. I don't have too many just like general thoughts. We can get into more specifics, but like generally the visuals are really cool.
Yeah.
Visually, this movie's great. It's really interesting. It's really flashy in your face. It's all over the place because of the dream worlds and the real world and just going back and forth. There's a lot of cool like scene transitions and interesting things with how the characters move because it's not real. So a character will be like in the side of a wall and then just walk out of the wall into real life, or there's just a crack in the fabric of reality just like walks through it and then walks down an alley in this crack in reality in like it's like 5 dimensions or something. And I was just watching this like, I feel like I should just be sitting here holding my head and just going, I don't understand.
I know, right? And like so the opening scene after, talk a little bit about the story. So the opening scene takes the character Paprika, which seems to be like this dream guide type character. Like she seems to be fully capable of like figuring out dreams and like traversing them.
Mm-hmm.
And she's helping this detective guy, like doing therapy on him.
Yeah.
So like after that scene where they do the therapy session, she's like going home. Like I get it's kind of like an opening like song thing, but like she started just riding her bike home, and then all of a sudden she's in a billboard sign, and then she's like going like she's traversing like through literal light beams.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, what is going on? Like just that alone like starts you off on like an uneven footing.
Yeah.
Which I like how it, like you were saying, like there's like a 5th dimensional portal in the middle of this room. Like it totally blows your mind, but in a way it also makes sense.
It really pushes the limits of the medium because you cannot make that kind of thing. Even with CGI, you cannot do that kind of thing in live action.
Right.
It's just impossible because it's that scene. Well, we can get into our like favorite things, I think, if we don't have any more general overall thoughts.
That's gonna be the main problem with this episode, because it's just gonna be like us saying it's a vibe.
that first scene after like the introduction of that whole first introduction, actually, like even the cops like story thing, was so cool. I was so hooked in by that. I watched that intro with her twice after I finished the movie. I just went back and watched it again.
Oh, really?
Because it's so cool. It's one of the most visually like entertaining things I've ever watched, because she's just like skipping through the streets and the cars are going too fast and she just like snaps her fingers and they all freeze.
Yeah, they all
like,
well, everybody freezes. Like you see
Yeah.
pedestrians, they freeze, and you're just like, what the heck?
and then she's like walking on the wall, and it's so bizarre because it's like this is a 2D drawing with a 2D animation within the 2D drawing on the wall. Like, it's so bizarre to think about, but it was super cool. There's like a thing where she walks in front of the, like, there's like a guy sitting in a cubicle, and he's like resting in a cubicle, and you see the like screen of his computer, and she's like in the screen, but then like walks to the right, and she's standing in the room after she was in the screen. It's like hard to explain, but if you look at that single bit of her walking from the screen to the real world without it feeling like a transition, it just felt like she walked by, but she was in the screen and then it was out. Like, it was so smooth. It was that one little moment was my favorite part of the entire movie, of just watching her just go whoop out of the like.
I like how they
thing.
mirrored
so
that
cool.
at the end of, like, one of my favorite scenes is at the end when basically the main bad guy is taking over the real world because he's controlling the dreams of everybody. Like, everybody's merged together. Like, the whole city is like turning into weird dream creatures, and also is like just being hypnotized by this dream state. And like Paprika is helping the main scientist. But Paprika is like using her ability, how she knows how to traverse through dreams, and is like she'll walk into like a sign on the side of the road, and the sign has like a car, and she's driving the car, so she drives the car through the sign into like another like billboard that has like a horse on it. And like she turns into a horse, and then there's another scene where she like walks into a painting where there's like a guy like fighting a griffin.
And
she becomes the griffin.
It's so cool. The one part she like rips a motorcycle out of like the painting or whatever. There's she jumps through a TV and pops out of the camera that was like so filming.
Cool,
And then that was funny because she pops out, and so she's like, "Come with me," and so they jump through, and then
scientists.
Then the perspective switches, and you see the one scientist guy pop out of the camera that the guy was holding,
he gets
and that was
stuck for
really
a second.
Funny. There was another thing that I really liked about this movie is its like weird sense of humor. There's a lot of like subtle jokes throughout the thing of either like the timing of stuff or just like the little background, like him getting stuck in the camera. And there's a lot of like some of the I assume it was meant to be comedic, but some of the violence was funny to me, where someone would just like how they fell or how they got hit or whatever just felt very like, it just had a weird like funny comedic timing to me.
In a way, it felt like somebody in a dream. Like when you have a dream, you can have nightmares where they're brutal, but most of the time in a dream, when somebody gets hit or hurt, it doesn't. It's hard to explain because it's a dream. It doesn't like hurt.
It was.
It
very,
doesn't
like,
look brutal. It just looks like, oh, they got hit.
It wasn't serious. It was like a very quirky style of humor. Especially like the last one of the ending lines of the one, what's his name? The one scientist. Kosaku, the main guy who invented the thing. He's
the
like
kid genius.
He's stuck in the dream, and he is like totally possessed basically in this dream, and he's like this robot guy, and he ate something. I don't remember what it was, but he was like, "That was good. Now I need a little spice. How about some?" And he like turns and looks directly at the camera, is like, "Paprika."
So so this goes way deeper into the story. He eats Atsuko. The scientist.
Because this is a weird point, but she is Paprika is like her alter ego in dreams.
Yes.
But somehow they both get into dreams and are separate from each other.
Right.
I think Paprika is part of like her personality or who she shows she is versus who she actually is or something, because
it's
of
her
how
younger self.
How different she acts. So it's kind of like the more like stuck in her situation version, or her like younger, more free self or whatever.
Yep.
Anyways, so Paprika is like the more free, running around saving people, and she's like also there, and she gets eaten by him, and then he's like, I need something that was good. I need something with more spice, like paprika. Just like stares directly at the camera.
Like
It was
like fourth
the
wall breaking
most
was
on the nose like line, and it was hilarious.
It was great. And then the scene, it's so weird. Like there's like this whole like musical part.
Yeah.
So like when the city starts going under like the dream spell, a lot of them start turning into dream characters. I don't know if it's like their persona or like what the dreams is making them, because it's totally wild at this point. Some of them are turning into like, they have basically school uniform. They're like normal humans, school uniforms on, but they have like a cell phone for their head.
Yeah.
Some of them are turning into like Buddha dolls, and some of them are turning into like ducks and
I think it
cows.
was part of the invasion dream thing, where they kind of became part of his dream instead of like their
dream,
own
yeah.
dreams. So it kind of like messed with them and made them like side characters in the dream. I think that's what the deal was, where it's like they couldn't think anymore because they were in somebody else's dream.
The wild part is, like you say, how comedic it was in certain parts. How like the director or the person that wrote this, that made the movie,
Mhm.
what's his name?
The director was Satoshi Kon. It was
Satoshi
written.
Kon.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm guessing.
And the script by was Emmanuel Giacomi.
Okay. That makes sense. So the guy that wrote the script, I'm guessing, I don't know. And it was one, like, whoever produced the movie.
Yeah.
Like the way they use the dream babble to like comment on like actual like real world things was like weird. Like there's so many of them that I can't necessarily like comment on. Like there's one, it was a weird scene. It goes into like the darker part, but like these characters are like in a school girl outfit, and like they lift up their skirt, and guys just like take pictures
are
of
also heads of cell phones,
or heads of cell phones, and like they comment on how they just like comment on it's weird. It's like a political commentary on like society.
Yeah.
But it's done in such a weird way.
And also like in a dream, so it's all just like bizarre nonsense too. Yeah, it was really cool. I liked all the dream stuff, was really fun. Mostly the visuals like really helped this movie be really entertaining, because like the story is good and interesting, but it's definitely not the main reason you watch this movie, because the visuals are super cool, and not in like a totally like, not like most anime where you're just like Demon Slayer, where it's like the visuals are really good, but it like it doesn't matter that much if the story's not like great, you know? Demon Slayer is not like a perfect or really great series to me, because the story isn't good enough, even though the visuals are like some of the best of all anime. But in this movie, the visuals like tell the story, so they're a huge part of it. So it's not just like the movie looks good, also the story's kind of whatever. It's like it's a good story that the visuals tell, and it's told through the like fantastic, bizarre dream visuals that are shown throughout the entire story.
Yeah, one more like standout moment for me was what was I saying? Oh, the standout moment for me was like the detectives. Like there's a whole detective like subplot.
Yeah.
Right? Where the detective was originally just getting like basically therapy.
Yeah.
But then he gets like entwined with this whole thing. And at the same time, Paprika's like helping him figure out why either he's having a hard time sleeping, or I think he was actually just trying to get therapy to help him figure out this case that was going on.
Yeah.
And there's this scene where his final arc of figuring out why, in one part of his dream, he's like trying to chase this culprit and he goes into this part of his dream that's a hotel, and in the hotel he sees the culprit running past the guy that just got shot. I guess at that moment he would either always wake up or he would like basically devolve to the point where it's like a nightmare type of thing. And Paprika was trying to help him get past that part. And in the movie, he finally gets past that part of Paprika's help, like in the midst of all this weird chaos. Apparently. And it's cool how it's cool how they took that therapy aspect, because that's like actual real world therapy that people do. And it's cool how they implemented it into the movie. So like they're actually showing what the MD Mini, the device that lets you go into the dreams, it shows like how it's actually supposed to work.
That's a good point.
Like it was really cool. Like they kept that plot point in it all the way through. They didn't just like drop off the plot point like, oh, now the cop's in it because the cop has to be in it. Like he was actually there for a reason.
Yeah, that is a good point. I didn't even think about that. How it actually showed what the benefits of the technology were instead of just the downsides of it. So, that whole scene, that ending scene of him was probably my last favorite moment of just him dealing with this stuff. And then it goes through, because he has this whole thing about movies and like not liking movies or whatever. And you find out he was like a film student with this guy, and the other guy like died, and he feels like guilty and bad about it and stuff. But he goes through and like deals with the guilt of his friend and his like love of making movies and stuff. And you watch him go through, because the very beginning of the movie we see his dream, and it goes through all these like action movie stuff where he's fighting in like a thriller, and then he's in like this romance comedy, and then he's in this like all these different genres of movies. And then the ending, you get to see him like follow through with that stuff, and that was really cool. At the very end, awesome. It's just like he rescues everybody. He does the thing in each movie. He like finishes the bad guy or whatever, and then he like stands there. He has the girl. He's got like a gun in his hand. He poses cool. It like flashes, and then it's just like the end. And then the audience like cheers, and it's like all in a movie theater that's also like in his dream or whatever. And that just, it was really fun. It just made me smile. It felt like the director or an author, like their love of movies being put on like in front of their like creation. It felt like a celebration of like movies within this movie that was also dealing with this character's like guilt and stuff.
Well, and it was cool too, because not only did they finish that plot point, but they tied it in with the main plot point, because as soon as he has that resolved for him, that's when all the chaos starts going on.
And all the other dreams merge and stuff.
Him and Paprika are in the movie theater, where like the dream transitions to them sitting in the movie theater, and she's like talking to him about like what they just went through at the therapy, basically like him figuring out all of his issues. She's like going over the movie things, and then the dream like invades his dream. And that's when things just totally get wild. Like, it's cool.
And it's also part of the visuals telling the story so much. We're just the ending of his like resolve being shown through this like movie sequence of him like it was like the climax of a movie being shown within this movie for the climax of his character arc. And it was just all shown. It wasn't
heading
like
into the climax of the movie.
It wasn't like explained. It was just like shown and given, and it just like made you feel like it was the climax of a movie, even though it was just the climax of this character's like arc. Really cool.
Like the way, so I guess that's about the end for the movies. Favorite part of movies. Kind of, okay, so specific likes/dislikes. We kind of already went over like specific likes. Is there anything like you disliked about the movie?
I guess the ending I feel like could have been a little bit better. I'm not sure how exactly, but it partially just like, I understand there's some like deeper meaning or something that I totally didn't understand. But it doesn't feel, same with like Akira, where it didn't feel totally satisfying how it ended. It just felt like things happened and then the threat went away.
Right.
So I would have liked a little bit more like Like maybe if I rewatched it, maybe I'd enjoy it better, because I do feel like this one did a better job of setting things up and having a situation, unlike Akira, where it just kind of happened out of nowhere and there wasn't that much, like it was so grounded until that point. Whereas this, it's like it's so wild and over the top that it does make sense that all of this isn't a dream. It feels like a dream where nothing makes sense, where characters are like feeling a certain way and then be like, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. This isn't a big deal at all. It's a dream. And stuff like that happens all the time. So, and it feels so much like a dream that it kind of makes sense that just random weird stuff happens and that's how it ends.
Yeah.
But it also isn't totally satisfying, where I didn't totally understand what made them defeat the bad guy. It just kind of like,
well, in a way,
partially happened.
I don't think defeating the bad guy, I don't think they wanted to focus on defeating the bad guy.
Yeah.
Because like the way the dreams work is, I think it was more all the characters had to come to realization with themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In a
too.
way, that was defeating the bad guy. Because
Yeah,
the
that
bad
was-
guy was
the villain, I guess, overall was probably my least favorite part of the
Yeah.
movie.
He did seem kind of forced. Like at first I was like, oh, he's gonna be the antagonist because he's like the political person that doesn't want the scientists to do good.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's like, it's not like I didn't want them to do good. It's more like I wanted to use all of it to control for my own purposes.
Yeah.
I wanted to become Dream God. And I'm like,
and he still was
okay.
like, this technology is dangerous and you shouldn't make it, but now I'm going to use it to become Dream God. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I don't get your deal, dude.
and at first he's like, I want to control dreams. And then all of a sudden he escapes into the real world. He's like, psych, I want to become just God. It's just like, all right, that moved on
what?
real quickly. But yeah, it's like, in a way, I think it was more the characters defeating their own psyche.
Yeah.
Which then, like, especially the main girl character, Chiba,
Atsuko,
Asuko, and
Achan.
Paprika, like them merging at the end of the movie, becoming one,
Yeah.
partially through the help with Tokida,
Yeah.
the
Tokido,
the
Kosaku.
scientist guy,
Yeah.
like him literally and mentally eating both of them. I don't know, weird dream stuff.
Yeah.
And then them merging and being able to defeat the chairman, right?
Yeah.
Like becoming a giant naked character in the sky.
Yeah.
How come all the mental things are just giant women in the sky?
I don't know.
That's kind of
But
odd.
that was a thing.
Anyways,
It was just like, she's absorbing me, oh no, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
we're done, and then vanishes. And then they're like, the dream's over? We awake now?
yeah, it's just like, are we still dreaming? And somebody makes the comments like, I don't think so. And then all of a sudden just jumps to the detective guy logging out of like this site that he was using to communicate with Paprika.
Yeah. And I think that was also part of like being in the dream world.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
it's
know.
like,
Very
was he
tricky
waking
stuff.
up at that point?
They were mentioning you could be in like, if you used it enough, you could be dreaming while awake and stuff. So I
Right.
think that's probably what he was doing. Anyways.
I get it's kind of my same dislike, and I get what you're saying. Like the ending was, I wish they would have gave us a little bit more
Yeah.
of context.
Wasn't totally satisfying, but I did like it overall, and I don't think the ending felt like it ruined it or anything. It just wasn't as strong as like Konakawa's. Like,
Yeah, for
finish.
sure.
The other there's some cool stuff that just kind of makes sense that happens where especially during the beginning of the movie, the characters and you don't always know when they're dreaming or when they're not dreaming, because it'll seem normal and then suddenly like the wall will just disappear and some random elephant rushes into the room and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, they've been dreaming the whole time. They dreamed that they woke up. They never actually woke up. This is like just all part of their dream and they're still trying to wake this person up. Like that was kind of a cool, like there's cool twists like that.
The fact that like, so there's one scene where so at the end of the movie, what's her name? Chiba? She wakes up from this giant like battle with the bad guy,
Mhm.
and she slaps the old professor guy.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Are we out of the dream?" And he's like, "I hope so, because this dang hurt." I'm like, "Okay, they're out of the dream because that's the trope.
Yeah.
Like, pinch yourself if you're in a dream and find out if you're in a dream." But then they're walking down the hall, and psych, they're still in the dream.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the heck? So it's like that twist right there really tells you. It's just like, it was at the end, but we kind of learned it all throughout the movie. Like you were saying, we could not tell when they were in a dream, when they were out of it.
Yeah.
Because everything could look totally normal, and then just out of the blue, there'd be a random crack in reality.
Yeah.
And then you'd be like, "Oh, I'm in the dream."
And slowly the dreams like merged with reality too, which made it like even more bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing we were mentioning, probably my other kind of dislike, they just didn't really focus on it. Was like the twist villains. Like it starts out and it's like Himuro is doing all this stuff and he was like your assistant and he was jealous of you and this is why he's doing it. And then you find out it wasn't really Himuro. He was like kind of being controlled by somebody else, and then you're trying to figure out who somebody else was. And it seemed a little bit too obvious that it was the chairman because he was already like antagonistic to them. So he wasn't that like big of a twist. And then his other buddy that's with him was like freaky from the beginning. Like from the start, it was just like, this guy's totally bad. I thought it was going to be a twist that the chairman wasn't doing it, but this other guy was, but it was just the chairman pulling the strings. So
that's what I thought.
It wasn't super great, like twist or anything. It was just kind of how it was. The other thing is I was expecting it a little bit more to be a like crime thriller with the detective guy, because I thought that the deal was going to be him in his dreams having to like sort out his problems to be able to discover who killed the case that he was working on. And from the beginning, it was like, this is going to be at least a main part of it, but that has like nothing to do with the movie whatsoever.
We don't even figure out if like the guy that he's chasing in his dreams is like a real world bad guy, or if it was just like a mental part of like his therapy.
Yeah, it was just like this guy died and he saw the case file and it was just part of his like dream world. So I guess that was just it was just kind of a backdrop. So.
Yeah.
The last thing I have is just an appreciation for the ending of and character of Tokita Kosaku, because he is like this stereotypical like nerd character. He's like super overweight, doesn't take care of himself. He's just does his technology thing and he's good at it, but otherwise he's a kid and like doesn't like pay attention to things.
That super immature, like fat.
Where it's just like, I just want to work on my gadgets. I don't care about consequences, kind of thing. And then in
a way, he's like Daru.
Yeah, he is. He's very much like Daru. And so I'm sure Steins Gate was like heavily inspired by this, but Atsuko was like kind of brought him to reality and stuff. Really bizarre twist is that like he is the stereotypical like fat buddy, like fun guy, scientist, nerd, whatever, side character.
Yeah.
And they ended it with her and him like being like the main love interest by the end, which was so
totally just out of left field.
I was just like, wow, they actually went this. It felt so surprising because they never do that. Like if there's a character who's like overweight like he is, and he is like unhealthily like in a
the
really
first time we see him, Chiba goes to open up an elevator to her apartment and he's stuck in it, like legit stuck.
And then at one point she's like, it's fine to like, you know, not be super healthy, but this is a little extreme.
Yeah, because he orders like 3 dinners at a diner.
That was that was also another thing of the movie that was really funny, is him just being like this meal, and it's like me. And like the steak meal, it's like me. Yeah. And it just, this whole conversation is happening with that in the background. But anyways, I thought that was like a really interesting twist of making him like actually get with the girl at the end instead of the much more like handsome, rugged cop guy. Like
I was expecting the cop.
I know, I was too. But it was funny because part of it was like the cop kissing her in that one scene, because he was the victor of the movie or whatever. Yeah. And she had that dream, so she woke up slapping him because she didn't want to be
slapping the old that was
so funny. That was pretty funny too. But like it was actually set up like decent, but it was really interesting that happened. And I think that's part of her character arc of becoming more like Paprika, more open and like honest than the Atsuko, who's really reserved and quiet and doesn't like show much emotion.
Yeah, for sure. Like her whole, I don't know, her whole character is interesting because at first she's like a very unemotional scientist character, and she slowly becomes more open, and you start to realize, especially when you realize that her and Paprika are the same character.
Yeah.
You can tell that she's got like bottled up things.
Yeah.
And in a way, she always shows that she does like Tokita.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't like how he doesn't take care of himself and not mature. And the whole ending scene with both of them, like, well, okay, the weird part when he's still the robot, and she's like hugging him.
Yeah.
But then it's also like a flashback to when like she has to pull him out of the elevator.
Yeah.
She's like saying like, yeah, you're way over, you're really fat and you don't take care of yourself, but I love you.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know, you could do better. And he's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's like at that moment, it's like both their characters developing. Like she's like finally letting go, like letting her feelings show.
Yeah.
And he's also like realizing like, yeah, maybe I do need to like
grow up a little bit,
like take care of myself. Like it was a really simple but yet cool moment.
Yeah, it blew my mind. I've never seen like that happen ever. That's like a trope that's just never changes. It's always just like the fat sidekick guy is super unimportant, you know? And having him be like the main thing in the end was like, that was the biggest twist of anything in this movie, which is like crazy with all the dream stuff. That just this random relationship was like, blew my mind. It was like if Daru got together with
Kirisu.
Yeah, like that would be insane.
Yeah. Well, there's multiple differences. Like Daru is more of like an actual like perverted character too. But yeah, it's interesting. Like there's also this scene right before, like in the middle part of the show, where the Takeda is like making another MD mini.
Yeah.
And she goes and just like berates him. Says she's like, you're a fat slob. You need to like stop hiding. Yeah. Stop doing things that you want to do. You have to start thinking about other people.
Yeah, that your actions have consequences.
And like at that moment, he goes to actually like try to help his assistant.
Yeah.
That was actually like had his mind basically turned into goo because he was like, I guess the main bad guy like forced him into it or something like that.
He was just such a good character when like his design and everything just felt like he was going to be a joke.
Yeah.
When he was actually like a really well developed, interesting character.
It was great. So any final thoughts about the movie? Like I have a couple. But what do you got?
Mostly just I really liked Paprika. Paprika was awesome. She was super fun.
We haven't talked about her much,
and upbeat, and just like I don't know, every moment with Paprika on screen, like the name Paprika fits so well because whenever Paprika feels like the heart, even though she doesn't really feel like the main character, she feels like the side character that's like your favorite side character.
Yeah, the side character that takes over the show.
Yeah, she's really important throughout the story. But she's very mysterious too because you don't totally understand what the deal is. And just really fun too. She's really fun and funny. Like every moment she's super upbeat and happy and also like dealing with really terrible things.
Yeah. I like how she like you said, she's happy throughout most of it, but I also like how she doesn't react ever in a negative way. The only time she reacts in a negative way is in that really, I think we're far enough in, but that really like creepy scene between the bad guy's assistant and her.
Yeah.
When she's like pinned to the table. Like, that was totally called for. Like she was acting in a totally good way, normal way. But like that was the only scene in the whole movie where she was like actually negative.
Yeah.
Like even after that, she was still like that like spice to the movie.
Yeah, I know. She definitely fits her name. She's like Paprika. She is Paprika.
Like, it's really good. I like her whole character. I like the dichotomy between her and Chiba. Like how one's super serious, super repressed. The other one is younger,
super open.
Yeah. Actually, like, it's to the point. Like, when she talks to somebody, she says what she means, says what she wants, but not in like an immature way, like Takeda.
Yeah,
like, it's interesting.
Yeah, she's really cool. She feels kind of perfect. Like she's the ideal that everyone wants to like be like.
You know, kind of like your dream self.
Yeah, which is what she is.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
And her just like floating on the cloud, randomly turning into like Tinkerbell and just like flying around.
Turning into Tinkerbell and that gypsy with the staff. And like, yeah, it's interesting. Just going even through this not interview, but this review, like there's so many little bits that I like pop into my head that click. So
yeah,
I really need to watch this again.
It's definitely a movie you can watch multiple times.
Yeah. But besides for that, that's about all I got.
Yeah,
I can rant about it more, but it's like a real
yeah, that's about it. Just super fun. Like one of the best things about movies like this is they're just fun to watch. They're not too heavy, even though there's like intense stuff going on. It is mature. There's like nudity and some violence. It's pretty tame for an R-rated movie.
Yeah. There's we mentioned the one scene. Nothing like actually happens with like rapey wise.
Yeah.
Besides for like it's really dream related. I don't want to go into the details of it, but like there is nudity.
Yeah.
There's like breasts shown, but that's about it.
Yeah. There's some like there's some disturbing images, but for the most part it could have went way darker and like creepier, and they didn't go that route, and I think it was way better because of it.
For sure. Besides for that, I think it's a good watch. You should watch this. The director, right?
Yeah.
Made 2 other well-known movies, Tokyo Godfathers and Perfect Blue.
Yeah, I think there's another one too he made that's pretty popular. I don't remember what it is.
But what's his name?
Satoshi Kon.
Yeah, so Satoshi Kon. He's a really good. I know Tokyo Godfathers is a really liked and well-loved movie.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he died in 2010. He was only 46. So he didn't get to make like as much as I'm sure he wanted to.
Right.
Yeah, he's pretty famous director, and
his life might have ended really early, but at least he gave us some pretty good movies so far.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it.
It was really sad to hear that he died, because the vibe of this movie just feels like someone that's really fun.
Yeah.
Like it just felt like a fun, energetic, like even with the dark characters and themes and places, just like the fun, upbeat, like weird comedy, weird visuals, like just felt like a really cool person.
Yeah, it was awesome. I really like his directing style too.
Yeah.
The way he links so many little things together.
A lot of movies feel separate from the artist, but this really felt like you felt like you were talking to the artist because of how like in your face the vibes and like the love of film and the fun, like quirky characters and stuff.
Yeah.
It just felt like a person made this, which is really cool.
It kind of felt like it would have been awesome to just sit down with the guy and watch this movie with him.
Yeah.
Especially this movie. And you can say that about a lot of like psychological thriller movies. Like Inception and other things.
Yeah.
Like Hollywood films. But like this movie in particular, would have been awesome to sit down with him and just like have him comment on all the things that was going on.
Yeah, like what was the deal with this? Why is this thing here?
Yeah, like why is she a Tinkerbell character?
Yeah. What was the idea behind this?
Right.
These visuals and stuff. So yeah, super cool movie. Really fun to watch. Visuals were great.
So far, there hasn't been a movie we watched yet that I could say was horrible.
Yeah.
I'm kind of waiting for that movie.
I
haven't found it yet. I mean, I'm a pretty agreeable person on most things anime I watch. So
yeah.
Besides for like maybe Berserk 2017 type of thing. But yeah, it's great. And our kind of weird review thing, I give it, let's see. 4 tablespoons of paprika out of 5.
Yeah, I'd give it like the same thing.
All right.
4. Maybe 4.5.
I could give it 4.5.
4 tablespoons and a teaspoon.
I just don't like doing
paprika.
half measurements while I'm cooking. You know,
Yeah.
you always mess it up.
I'll do 4 tablespoons and a teaspoon.
You know what? Paprika's pretty good. I'll give it 5.
Wow, dang.
Yeah. I like a little spice.
Lots of paprika.
Lots of paprika. I actually do like paprika.
Best
I like paprika.
cooking anime.
Have you actually cooked with paprika?
Paprika is good.
It's
I
pretty
do, yeah.
But yeah, besides for that, I think it was a great film. Go watch it. If you are fans with, like we've said, Steins Gate, Evangelion in a weird way, it kind
Yeah.
of deals with the same mental things. What's another one that kind of related this to? You know, it's kind of like can't think of the show. It's the same creator made Durarara.
Baccano?
Baccano. It's kind of like Baccano.
It is kind of, yeah. If you like quirky, upbeat, like kind of stories, it definitely feels like a quirky, upbeat Evangelion.
Yeah.
Like instead of the dark tones, it's like the brighter tones with all the like ridiculous stuff going
If
on.
all
Makes
the
sense.
edgy teenage characters actually had therapy,
Yeah,
that's what it
basically.
would have been. Paprika.
Yeah.
basically.
It is like the characters are all about like doing this for therapy and stuff, so it makes sense
Yeah.
they wouldn't be all depressed. Like, I don't know.
I
Cool
don't know.
movie.
I probably enjoyed it way more too because I like the whole psychology thing.
Yeah.
It's really fun. But yeah, besides for that, we appreciate you listening to this review. I know it's been a wild review because it was a wild
It
movie.
was a wild movie.
So I think we said dream probably 10,000 times in this freaking review, but it's the best way to describe it is a wild dream.
It
So,
was.
Besides for that, thank you for listening and watching. If you like this content, please subscribe and, you know, hit the like button. All those
Yeah.
things that we recommend all the time. Besides for that, we'll see you in the next review. Also, check out our podcast if you like listening to our sweet, sweet voices. And we'll see you all later.
That's all. Jam meow.
Bye.